But everybody was Barbieing at the time, so a lot of people were buying me a lot of Barbie white dolls. And she was now buying me black dolls with hair that is like kinky, which was very difficult to find. I actually don't know where she found those, because so it was like, I think in some sense she was kind of bringing me into the politics that I was about to experience. Now I went to school and I was very excited about going to school because my sisters were going to school. Now my brother was like really a baby, so he was sort of irrelevant in this conversation.
Okay.
But I really was very excited about going to school. And I grew up now at this point in time, I'm in Lenasia South. So Lenasia South is, we could say it's a mixed community, but again, we are still moving out of apartheid, so we were still very grouped.
Okay.
So us being black people in a place like Lenasia South, which was a predominantly Indian township, we were not a majority, exactly. We were not a majority because people were only beginning to move into different neighborhoods because remember, we were still very, very grouped at the time. So going to Lenasia South, but still, even though, you have colored people, Indian people, and black people, you do not have people with albinism, and you don't even have white people. So I literally am the only person wherever I go who has my skin,
like everyone was
my skin color, So, I go to school, and the first day of school, the children who I'm sitting next to move away from me. I just hear someone say, "Don't sit next to her." And they just move. And then I'm trying to see who don't sit next to who. Because I had not internalized my difference at all by that time. But within a week, I understood very much.
What have I done?
Exactly. And I didn't even go to speak to my parents about it because also I think as a child, I didn't even know how to translate myself. I didn't know what to say was wrong.
Mama,
exactly. Exactly. I couldn't translate myself at all. So all I started doing was I was sick all the time. I'd tell my mom, I'm always sick. I don't want to go to school. I'm sick. And that was really the only way I could communicate to her that I don't want to be in that environment. It's hostile. And, by the time now, I started changing schools quite often. One of the reasons, actually, why I changed schools, this I never actually really spoke about, is corporal punishment was very normal in when we were growing up. But my parents didn't exercise corporal punishment over us. And so there was a teacher who really was very excessive with his corporal punishment. And my father then decided to take me out of the school.
Okay.
But the next school I went to, it was kind of the same thing until
I think we're experiencing the same. All of us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whether was it taking out the stress,
exactly.
You can't even be sure now.
Exactly. So I was constantly going into different schools. By the time I went to the next school, I already knew my position. I knew my social position. So the anxiety started spiking. And every time I go into a very new situation, how would people receive me? And I even remember, when I got to Standard 5, I only did the school for the year. But my first day, I even fell while I was trying to get into a queue because I was so anxious. I could feel everyone's eyes on me. I could literally feel them. And so, I kind of went into high school, and you learn how to adapt to your circumstances. And somewhat, but one thing I soon realized is that, everywhere I looked, never mind magazines and television, there was that too. But even within my family, the people my cousins and my brothers, or who would say, hey, this person is attractive, or all of these people looked nothing like me. So what I started doing is when I got to matric, I just decided I'm going to just dye my brows, I'm going to dye my lashes. I was like, this albinism thing, I've had it. I am not having albinism anymore. And you know, by that I mean,
I can imagine, yeah.
I mean, of course, you know, doing whatever it is that you want to do is completely fine. You can like dye your hair, dye your brows, dye whatever, do whatever. But I think for me, it's just that the phenotype of albinism comes with sort of the so-called lack of pigmentation in your eyes and your hair. So my brows were always lighter than my skin. When most people, their brows like, you know, that darker than my skin. So it actually like your face and your features come out more prominently. I was the only one who did not have that, you know. And I decided I'm done. So I decided to reduce the phenotype by. And I remember my mother, I got back, I left one way and I came back looking another way because my mother was just like,
what happened? What happened?
What's happening? What's that? Because I didn't think, she was thinking, how did you even get to, where did you get the money? And I just saved up, you know. She was shocked. She was shocked, but she was also hurt because I think she started understanding how much I had internalized, that I was hurting. So yeah.